Hey everyone, I hope you're doing okay today. Hope everybody's having a good, what is today? Thursday afternoon. It's almost the weekend. We've almost made it. So close we can taste it. But I wanted to come on here and talk today about the idea of radical prayer. Not so much to really give you good practical content on it, but to stir up just this question of what radical prayer looks like in your life. I'm reading through a book right now called "Thy God Reigneth." Thy God Reigneth, and it's a book that it's about the Great Argentina Revival back in the early '50s. And so, we know that with every great revival just comes, before those revivals happen, it's just constant seasons of prayer and fasting and just seeking after the Lord. And so the writer of this book, in one instance, he's talking about how he is in Argentina, in the country that he is, called to be a missionary in. And he's going out. He has a church. It's a very small church, but he's going out during the day and he's trying to evangelize to the people of Argentina. And he's not having much success at all. And so after weeks and months of just going out, handing out, tracts, little gospel booklets, if you will, he's just not having any success. And so he kind of gets frustrated, like we all do when we put in effort and we don't see the results we want to see. So he goes back to his home and his church, and he just begins praying. He just begins fasting and praying and seeking the Lord. And he actually does this for a couple of months. And so it says that, he talks about how there would be nights where he would just fast and pray and worship through the night. He even said this. He said, if normal people can work 8 hours a day, a missionary should be able to pray for 8 hours a day. And so that's what he did. And so to make the story short, he ends up having a crazy encounter at a prayer meeting that the Lord asked him to create for some of the congregants in his church. And so it just got me thinking, like, with the things that we want to see in our lives, the things that we want to see with the Christian movement here in America, what does that require from us? Like, I don't believe that we're going to see a great revival in America happen by doing the things that we're currently doing. I think that if we are just okay with the status quo, like a lot of us are, I even fall into that category a lot myself. But if we're okay with just doing things the way that we've always done them, I don't believe we're going to see a great move of revival in our country. And so my question for you, and what I want to, ask you today, is what would radical prayer look like for you in your life? Would it look like you taking off work and spending 8 hours a day, just praying and fasting? Would it look like you staying up all night? Or, when the Lord wakes you up in the morning, like actually waking up and spending time in prayer. There's been some mornings where that's actually happened to me, where, I'll wake up in the morning and, I know it's the Lord just wanting to spend time with me. And I get up and pray and read scripture and just spend time with him. And it's crazy because, like, the next day, like, I'm actually not tired. Like, it's just refreshing and re-energizing. But what sacrifices will that cause for you? What will you have to give up? What will you have to sacrifice in order to pursue a radical prayer life? And I think that we're all called to a radical prayer life. I think that the word radical, it means doing something that's beyond what's expected. It almost seems absurd or crazy, or just bigger and more than what we've been doing. Like, radical is really different. And so, like, I just encourage you today, like, if your prayer life is comfortable for you, if it's easy, if you don't put much thought into it, it's probably not radical. There may be seasons where you spend, a lot of your evenings just praying and fasting and, just seeking the Lord. I'm a firm believer, and I've always said this, but I believe the amount of time that we spend in prayer shows how much we really believe in it. If we don't pray a lot, it's because we really don't believe in its power. But if we really believe in its power, we're going to pray more. So I just encourage you with that today, and I just want to challenge you to think about what that radical prayer life would look like for you. What would you have to give up? What would you have to sacrifice in order to pursue that? Jesus even, gets up early in the morning and climbs a mountain just to spend time with his Father. Like, even Jesus had a radical prayer life. I can't imagine what it looked like for the 40 days that he was in the desert, just praying and fasting and seeking his Father's face. It's radical. And so I do believe, just in the church, I believe that we need to develop this radical prayer life, to be hungry for more, to seek more of the Lord, and to just not settle for cultural Christianity, to not seek, to settle for the attractionist church. I believe that we should be going after more, and that starts with an intimate, radical prayer life. So just think about that for me today. As you go about, think about, hey, what would it look like for me to sacrifice that tomorrow? What can I do tomorrow and put aside for me to have a radical prayer moment with the Lord? And don't just think about it, do it. Just begin spending more time with the Lord and becoming more intimate and drawing closer to him in those moments of prayer. So I encourage you with that. Guys, have a good afternoon. Love you, and we will talk to you soon.